Welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate, the first for 2017. A very happy new year to all our viewers. I'm your host for tonight, Nancy Sarah Barakat. Up for discussion on this episode, we'll be taking a look at the Egyptian economy and its performance for 2016. We'll be paying particular attention to the new investment law, which was approved by the Cabinet on Thursday. Now, according to Minister of Investment, Delia Khurshid, the final draft of the new law will be sent to the State Council for adjustments in legal drafting before it is submitted to Parliament for final approval. The new law primarily aims at facilitating the work of investors. Within the framework, Minister of Trade and Industry Tariq Qabil announced that his ministry plans to continue its efforts in offering more industrial lands to meet the needs of the industrial investment movement in 2017. Qabil said that 2017 will be a turning point for the trade and industry sectors, expecting a surge in domestic and foreign investments as well as an increase in production as well as exports. What does my guest make of the investment law? How does he see it attracting more investments to the country, and how does he evaluate Egypt's overall economic performance? That's what we're going to be discussing on the first half of tonight's program. Later on in the evening, we'll be looking at a completely different topic, but one that has definitely been making headlines on the international arena, and that is the recent strain in US-Russian ties, which have over the past couple of days witnessed both ups and downs due to the sanctions that were imposed by outgoing US President Barack Obama on the one hand, and the praise that was issued by US President-elect Donald Trump on the other. Obama on Thursday authorized a series of sanctions against Russia for allegedly intervening in the 2016 US presidential election and warned of more to come. That's what we're going to be taking a look at later on in the program, so do stay tuned. As always, we like to shed light on some of these stories making headlines today, and we start off with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, who sent New Year greetings to heads of state around the world, in which he wished them and their countries peace and prosperity. The president had also received greetings from high-ranking officials in which they expressed their best wishes for Egypt in the coming year. Egypt welcomed 2017 with colourful illumination lighting up the sky of the pyramids in the eve of New Year with a display of fireworks. Meanwhile, under the directives of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the military forces finalized the reconstruction of the Coptic Orthodox Church after it was targeted by a terrorist attack last month. Earlier in the day, His Holiness Pope Tawadros II, the Pope of Alexandria and the Holy Apostolic See of St. Mark headed Mass on Sunday at the Boutroussea Church with the attendance of the families of the victims of the terrorist attack that took place in the church last month. His Holiness presented his gratitude to President el-Sisi as well as the armed forces for the efforts exerted in finalizing the reconstruction of the church within the 12-day period that was allotted. Also today we're taking a look at the Turkey a terrorist attack where a gun opened fire on New Year revelers at a packed nightclub on the shores of Istanbul's Bosphorus waterway, killing at least 39 people, including many foreigners, then fled the scene. Some people jumped into the Bosphorus to save themselves after the attacker began shooting at random in the Arena nightclub just over an hour into the New Year's. Security services had been on alert across Europe for New Year celebrations following an attack on a Christmas market in Berlin that killed 12 people. Now, to tell us more about this attack and obviously analyse it further and what could have caused it, Ambassador Samir Burhan, a former Assistant Foreign Minister, joins us now over the phone. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Ambassador Samir?
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time. I just wanted to start off by asking you how you evaluate, obviously, the current situation in Turkey in general when it comes specifically to the security situation in the country, given the attack that took place hours ago.
Unfortunately, this is a very unpleasant occasion for the Turkish people and even to the government of Turkey because of this attack against innocent people celebrating the New Year in a club, and this is might happen also in any country otherwise than Turkey. I think it has happened sometimes in Sydney, in Australia, and some other places. this is very unpleasant omen for the Turkish people and for the government, and we hope that the people will overcome this unpleasant occasion and this sinister event. I hope that the new year, I mean 2017, will be a pleasant year for all the people around the whole country, the whole entire world.
Is there a reason, though, that you think, I mean, it's no secret that Turkey in the recent past has been targeted several times by terrorist attacks. Is there a particular reason for that? Do you consider there's some sort of security gap? How do you analyze that?
It might be a security gap. It might be otherwise reasons, because the terrorism has no religion, has no political philosophy or whatever it is, because the terrorism attacks in the weaker places all around the whole world. So I think at the moment they think that Turkey is a weaker place in the world, and they attack Turkey, as they have already done in Syria, Iraq, in other places, and even in Egypt, when in the Botrossia church, you see, this is the terrorism has no philosophy, no culture, no religion, and it attacks whatever it seems weaker places.
Okay, and I thank you very much for your insights there, Ambassador Samir Burhan, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, our first report for the evening, and a closer look at the Egyptian economy, and in particular the new investment law, and then I'll be back with my guests here in the studio. Do stay tuned.
The Cabinet approved the final draft of the new investment law during its weekly meeting on Thursday, according to Minister of Investment Dalia Khurshid. It will send the law to the State Council for adjustments in legal drafting before it is submitted to Parliament for the final approval. Khurshid said during a press conference held at the Cabinet's office that issuing the executive regulations of the law will occur as soon as possible in order for it to be activated. She noted that the Cabinet agreed to the cancellation of private free zones and to expand technological investment areas. According to Khurshid, the new law is not a remedy for all investment problems in Egypt, but it is part of the plan to develop the country's business environment. Khurshid believes that the new law is part of the legislative framework that reorganizes economic activity on all levels and facilitates the work of investors. She noted that all concerned authorities are working on attracting investments in the upcoming period, and emphasized that all suggested amendments and notes by ministers regarding formulations and definitions of activities were taken into consideration. For his part, the Minister of Trade and Industry, Tariq Qabil, announced that his ministry plans to offer 10 million square meters of land in Sadat, 10th of Ramadan and Burj Al Arab to complete the establishment of the first 3 industrial parks, which have small industries licenses in Sadat, Badr and South Raswai in Port Said areas. The new industrial parks are scheduled to be completed by September and October. He added in a statement issued Saturday that the ministry plans to continue its efforts in offering more industrial lands to meet the needs of the industrial investment movement in 2017. Qabil said that 2017 will be a turning point for trade and industry sectors, expecting a surge in domestic and foreign investment as well as an increase in production and exports. The next year will also witness the opening of a number of specialized industrial clusters, including furniture factories in Damietta and Plastic City in Alexandria. Qabil pointed out that the ministry will launch its industrial investments plan in 2017, which includes investment opportunities and competitive advantages for each province separately. The ministry will also complete the development and rehabilitation of 6 industrial zones in the framework of the development of the Industrial Zones program in Upper Egypt, funded by the World Bank. The Parliament is expected to approve the new laws regulating industrial licensing as well as automotive industry strategy and the one-person company law. The new year will also witness the launch of the new authority regulating small to medium-sized enterprises and the National Food Safety Authority. In regards to the Ministry's plan for the development of the foreign trade sector in 2017, Qabil said that the Ministry aims to increase export rates by 10% in various export sectors.
Be the first to know. The news live at the site of the event. Information on events as they are happening. If it's breaking news, it's Nile TV. For ads on Nile TV, Egyptian Radio and Television Union, the economic sector, info@nileinternational.net, or call us on the following numbers.
عايز في البلد دي كل واحد يشتغل بضمير.
كلنا نشتغل، احنا نغير نفسنا بس.
الناس تعامل ضميرها وتعامل مرضي الله،
الناس تبقى كويسه مع بعضيها،
هيبقوا كويسين.
كلنا خير ومصر كلها خير.
هي ام الدنيا، الشعب المصري ده طيب.
لو كل واحد ابتدى بس بنفسه بلد هتتصلح.
كل واحد يعمل ربنا وضميره، الناس تبقى حلوه كده مع الناس. لازم اخلاق الناس تبقى كويسه، نحب بعض، الاحترام،
ضماير الناس،
الاخلاق بس.
ان شاء الله ينصلح حالنا بقى.
نتقبل آراء بعض. هي الديمقراطية، هي الديمقراطية.
Everyone, allow me to welcome here in the studio Dr. Fuad Abu State, Professor of Political Economy at Helwan University. Thank you very much for coming in tonight. Let me start off by asking you of your overall impressions of the new investment law and how it will help attract and facilitate the investment atmosphere here in the country.
Well, the investment law is the first step in the right directions. Law by itself is a good step that to encourage private investments. Since Egypt is adopting free market philosophy, then the private sector should take the active role in development, and this is by promoting the private sector, whether it is domestic or foreign investors, through promotion of conducive business environments. The law itself is not going to be or promoting the investment by itself, but rather than taking or overtaking the obstacles that facing the domestic and foreign investors. The law itself is a right step, like I said, in the right directions, but has to be followed by others policies by the government. This policy will also enhance Egypt's ability to compete in the international arena in attracting foreign investment, because foreign investment will not come in any country unless it has the right conducive environments, including the infrastructure, the obstacles to compete and conquer the corruptions, the stability of political and economic stability in the country, and also the function of the labor economy in the country as well.
Right.
All of these factors contribute to the private investment to take an active role in the economy.
Right. But if we were to take a look at this particular law, what would you say were some of the most important articles?
Well, the law includes a lot of articles. The law by itself has not been published publicly yet, but if you look at it, you find parts on the incentives, part how to deal with the problem, how to deal with the how to attract foreign investors, and how to solve and overcome the bureaucracy, among others. Because if you look at all of these components, those are representing in Egypt the most common problem that's facing the foreign investor, even the domestic investor. Is this bottleneck represent the main issues. Bureaucracy is number one.
Right.
Availability of the right of proper infrastructure, the availability of tax incentives, the other incentive, particularly in the rural area in Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt and the primitive area in Egypt where the investment is being recommended and encouraged. For all of this, the law is putting a lot of emphasis and attention on this area. And also the law is being sent to the State Council to monitor its legalities and mandate it, and then sent to the Parliament to discuss it. And also they will also, and also I think, from my personal opinion, it needs to be sent in public and also let the people participate on soliciting their opinion on the law itself.
How so? Because that's an important note. I mean, some people would say, you know, the average person isn't a law expert, isn't an investment or an economic expert. Why do you say that it's important for people to actually take part in the process of looking at the law and ratifying it?
Development, it's inclusive issues. All the society partners or parts should be involved in formulating the policy and also providing their own opinions on that. Because if you look at the law by itself, you find the labor is one part, the owner is one part, the banker is one part, the business association another part, the legal activity is another part. It's all of them consisting the final law. For that reason, all of the party involved will enhance or enrich the outcomes of the law by itself.
Right.
And this is the art that's being done in all of the countries. And it's not left only to the lawyers or the economists or the policymakers or the businessmen, but also it's also wise to solicit the opinion of other part in the country.
Right. I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned that part of the law will talk about incentives. I wanted to ask you about the importance of having incentives to investors, and what kind of incentives do you hope the government will be offering investors?
This is an excellent question. Look, we facing a very fierce competition. Look at China, look at the Far East, look at Turkey, look at even other countries, the Gulf countries. They are trying to attract the foreign investors. The size of foreign FDI to China is $6,900 billion, where in total Africa almost $26 billion. And here, look at the big difference. I mean, China itself is almost 20 times or 30 times than what's Africa in total is attracting foreign investors. This providing the incentive, the infrastructure, the overcome the problem of the bottleneck of bureaucracy, the legal markets, or sorry, the labor markets, the legal environments, all of them trying to act in coordinating parts to promote the law.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to also ask you about bureaucracy and the importance of eliminating bureaucracy, especially when we look at, as you said, these other markets, these fierce competitors when it comes to attracting investors, and how they have overcome their own problems when it comes to dealing with bureaucracy. How important is it that this process of, or this, at some point there was talk of a one-window policy, how important is it that the bureaucracy and the red tape and so on and so forth is cut down?
Bureaucracy is the most dangerous disease that's facing Egypt. And Egypt is one of the oldest bureaucratic society around the globe. And the investments and bureaucracy don't go together. I mean, if you try to attract foreign investors, the investors need to come and see what will be the requirements, how he will establish the company, how he expatriates his profits, what kind of labor market he is facing to, what kind of legal responsibility and social responsibility is required to do, among others. In Egypt, bureaucracy has been hurting the country tremendously.
Right.
And if we don't be able to conquer this bureaucracy, as well as the corruption, then we are facing a problem. Mm-hmm. And one of the aim of this law is to create the one window. The one window is collecting all the activities that required by the country to the investors in one single step.
Right.
Then when he go there, then everything should follow, and then follow the system. Country like Dubai, like China, Far East, other country is also adopting this kind of policy, and they are doing very well. Right. For that reason, I think the issue here is not to imitate other country, but rather than have our own philosophy of how to create. Egypt has a lot of potential. Egypt is a sizable economy with 96 million inhabitants. The locations, the labor market, it has a lot of advantages. This by itself is a plus. Thus we should build on that, but we should not take this for granted.
Right.
We should not take this for granted, but rather than build on it, still the road is too long. We have to build on this, and also we have to have kind of plan. This government should interact and put a plan in the different sectors where and what kind of project that we'd like to invite the foreign investors to invest.
Right.
And some countries also do kind of pre-visibility studies in certain projects, and then provide the investors with this pre-visibility study.
So I assume that you are for the fact that the government should provide the investors with the areas in which they think Egypt needs investments, and not sort of leave them to do or to come and invest in any.
I think it's very essential, I think, because the previous law restrict the foreign investors to invest in certain sectors.
Right.
And also we need to know what kind of projects and what kind of incentives. And when the law, it comes to the light and it's been read by the investor, then he or she should know his rights and his also duties, and what kind of incentives that he received, and then for how long, how about the expatriate of his profits. Now even adopting the free market exchange, also this should facilitate the expatriate of the profit. But also, are the banks ready to do so? And then do we have enough foreign currency to do so? All of this should be addressed to the government, and also government should do her homework on that and should adopt a really straightforward philosophy for that. The law by itself is a good step, but it's not the ultimate step.
Right. I was also wondering about how you see, obviously, the overall economic status of Egypt and its performance in 2016, and how you hope we can build on what has taken place during the past year in the coming year.
Well, given the circumstances, the political and economic circumstances in Egypt and internationally, Egypt had done moderately fine. I mean, growth rates between 3.5 to 4%. Egypt suffers tremendously from the twin deficit, like you call it, the budget deficits and balance of payment deficits. This also affects the performance of the economy. Also, the inflation is also a bit high. After the adoption of the free market exchange rates and the agreement with the IMF, the avenue is being open. What now Egypt is in acting toward overcome on all obstacles or that facing the growth, and also taking the necessary policy to overcome these bottlenecks and improve it, and also try to attract investment, one part of it. Also the policy encourage exports and discourage import, and then the country also will adopt the import substitution policy, which means that the country will produce whatever we need it. And this also, the free market exchange rate also has a side effect, not only on the importing of luxury product, but also increase the subsidy paid by the government in the case of petroleum and other subsidy providing to the poor, like in sugar and wheat and other imported products. Subsidy also represents a major challenge that facing the government, and in the light of this program, we need to minimize the impact on the needy people, and also we need to create a safety net, which is called takaful, that the government should have a program that provide the needy with subsidy to overcome the impact of this program. And also rationalization of the subsidy is another issue. I've been talking, and all of the other economists also been addressing these issues, and the president himself also addressed these issues and instruct the government also to do this. Also, the adaptation of the free exchange rates has an impact on wide range of products like medicine, like the imported products, which also have a multi consequences on the market. I think the government has a lot to chew, and then have a lot to do, and also we'll wait and see.
Well, hopefully we will meet again and see how the year progresses. Thank you very much for coming in tonight, Dr. Fuad Abu Steed, Professor of Political Economy at Hilwan University. It was a pleasure.
It's my pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, our second break for the evening before we begin our second topic, and a quick look at the deterioration, if you will, or to shed more light at the recent developments regarding U.S.-Russian relations, and then we'll be back with my second guest for the evening. Stay tuned.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump on Friday praised Russian President Vladimir Putin for not quickly hitting back at Washington for their punitive measures imposed over alleged interference in November elections. Russia's embassy in Washington quickly retweeted their comment, with Trump pinned so it would appear at the top of his feed for several hours. Trump's tweet enraged his Democratic foes as well as some members of his own Republican Party. Earlier, the Russian leader ruled out any immediate tit-for-tat expulsions of American officials in the row over what Washington says were efforts to harm U.S. interests in connection with the November 8th election won by the Republican. Putin's own foreign ministry had recommended that he eject 35 American officials to counterbalance U.S. President Barack Obama's move on Thursday to expel 35 Russian intelligence operatives and shut down 2 Russian compounds in the United States. Trump, who succeeds Obama on the 20th of January, has repeatedly praised Putin and made a number of cabinet picks with ties to Russia. The FBI and CIA have concluded that Russian intelligence agencies oversaw the hacking and leaking of emails from Democratic Party organizations under Kremlin order this year in order to benefit Trump's campaign against Hillary Clinton. In the past, the president-elect has ridiculed U.S. intelligence about Russia's cyber meddling, saying it was not clear who conducted the attacks. He has long treated such accusations as a thinly veiled effort by Democratic President to delegitimize a Republican victory. While Trump has already received intelligence briefings about the election and substantial evidence is in the public sphere, his pledge to meet with intelligence chiefs could provide a face-saving opportunity to further soften his stance. Also next week, Director of National Intelligence James Clapper will appear before lawmakers to testify about foreign cyber threats to the United States, possible opportunity for him to expand on Russia's activity.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and my second guest for this evening is Dr. Mustafa Abbas, political analyst. Thank you very much for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
Let me start off, perhaps not evaluating the recent developments in U.S.-Russian ties, but perhaps evaluating what's been happening between the Obama administration and the incoming Trump administration. What's happening there?
What is happening is different in perspective. Obama administration is sort of a follow-up to the Clinton administration. The coming or the forthcoming administration, that's the Trump administration, is going to be the follower of George Bush, the junior, not George Bush, the senior. So these are new conservatives. They have a different outlook from in comparison to the Democrats.
Right.
So they believe in the global empire. So they are building a global, they are in the process, they believe that they are the global empire, and they believe that they are the superpower in the world. And these again believe that this empire is unprecedented in history. It is not to be compared with the Roman Empire, not to be compared with the Greek Empire, it is not to be compared with any other empire in the history of mankind. It's an empire that spreads its testicles over the entire universe.
Right.
That was what we heard from Bush and his staff, Cheney and whoever else. So these two ideas clash. We are seeing the clash now in the open because at the beginning it was there.
Right.
And this is what Trump has been trumpeting, in a sense, throughout his campaign.
Right.
He is to regain the power and the prestige of the American global empire, and underline the word global empire.
Well, definitely, what we're talking about, or what we're trying to focus on today, is the recent developments with regards to U.S.-Russian relations.
Yes.
Now, things came to a head when the FBI and the Secret Services in the United States accused Russia of being part of a plot to bring Trump to power. How did these developments unfold, and what did you make of them as you heard and read about them in the news?
Let's say first that Trump and Putin, they have the same aims.
Right.
They are lovers in secret.
Right.
Well, it's no secret. They say that we are going to cooperate. The mistake that we as developing countries or the rest of the world fall into is We view the Russian Federation as the successor state of the Soviet Union. It is not. The Soviet Union was an empire based on ideology, and its ultimate aim was to export the ideology to the rest of the world. The Russian Federation is not a successor state. It may be de jure, or in terms of the law, it is the successor state. But it is not de facto. In real terms, it is not. It's an imperial state. So we have two imperial states falling in love with one another, trying in secret and in the open to divide the cake.
Right.
This is what it is. This is how I see it.
But when things obviously came to a head between the Obama administration and Russia, and then they took the decision to expel Russian diplomats and impose sanctions, that was a very extreme decision by that administration. But then you saw on the other side, Trump, if you will, complimenting Vladimir Putin for his wisdom and calling him very smart for not exchanging or taking a tit-for-tat approach. So we're also wondering perhaps about the future of Russian-American ties under a Trump administration. Because again, that would, if Trump goes ahead as things are today, or as he says, or as he expresses nowadays, it would be a far cry from how the U.S. policy is historically towards.
We have never seen the United States policy as divided as it is now. I don't think I have not seen that. Right. I am almost 60 years old now, but I haven't seen that. This is the again. The clash between two ideas. The current idea, which is coming to an end, or the current concept coming to an end, which is the Obama administration, is just doing its very, very last action on the stage. So I would view the latest events as more of theatrical action than real action. Right. Because if you see a country as big as the United States, and a country that claims to be based on institutions behave the way it does, I think it's unprecedented. I haven't seen that in my life, even in a small-sized country or in a mid-sized country in Europe or in the first world. Right. This is unprecedented. But again, we should not make much of the latest actions taken by the Obama administration against the Russian Federation. It's just a bomb that has already exploded and will come down, and nothing is going to come out of it.
You see, it's interesting that you say that. Whenever we speak to analysts about U.S. foreign policy, they always say that foreign policy in the United States is already set out by Congress, by the Senate, and it's given to the president to follow through. However, which way he chooses to do it, be it forcefully or sort of more diplomatically, it is up to him, but sort of dictated to him. And what I'm saying is that throughout the years, obviously, Russian-American ties have not been good at all, to say the least. We've seen a Cold War. Some people have said what's happening in Syria today is another Cold War between the two superpowers. But I'm asking you, is there going to be a shift now?
There will be definitely a shift. There will definitely be a shift. And again, we should not look at Russia as a successor state of the Soviet Union. Russia is an imperial state. What we have seen lately in Syria is an indication of that, is a clear indication of that, and a clear proof that we are now up against an imperial state that has territorial ambitions in the Middle East and elsewhere, especially in the neighborhood. And again, what happened in the Ukraine is yet another indication that we are dealing with an imperial state. It's a totally different thing. And I believe, again, when we come to the United States, that the election of Donald Trump is a watershed event. It will divide two eras, in a sense. That's the era that we have known for decades, and a new era where Trump is challenging the institutions that you talked about.
Right.
His ticket is based on that. I am against the government of the United States the way it is. I am going to change that. That's why people elected him, because he made that promise. Whether he's going to make good on the promise or not is for the next few days, or next few months, or the next quarter of a year to develop and be seen.
Right. I was wondering, though, if the Obama allegations turn out to be true in any way, shape or form, are there any international laws? Is there any international action that the Obama administration or the Democrats, if you will be willing to take against Russia?
If they have 19 days left, will that be enough to take an action that will have an effect on a country like the Russian Federation, when the coming president is saying clearly and unequivocally, no, this is not right, we should not do that to the Russian Federation, simply because they have now common interests.
Right. But do you believe there's any truth to Russia interfering in the presidential elections?
Definitely yes.
Right.
Definitely yes, because remember, the United States is run on lobbying, and this lobbying can be in the open, as we see it, and as it is represented by some lobbying entities like IBAC and what have you, and of course there are secret and covert actions that are taking place. I mean, Netanyahu clearly and unequivocally said that he was against the second term for Obama, and he truly and effectively intervened in the elections and interfered in the internal states of the United States of America, but just went by.
Right. I'm wondering, though, with these recent developments, how do you think they're going to affect key issues happening in the region, like the Syrian crisis, when the United States and Russia, if you will, become friendly again, or become friends with a Putin-Trump administration? Do you think that the Syrian crisis will come to an end?
It will come to an end on their terms.
Right.
Not on the terms of the Syrians or on the terms of the adjacent states. Definitely it will be an American European Russian agreement, whether that be in the open or in hidden. It will come to that. It is already coming to that. I mean, even if the regional powers are invited, they are invited as guests. Can you believe it? Egypt now is to be invited to a Syrian meeting in Geneva. This is very difficult to believe. I think I am as sad as many Egyptians are.
Right. When we look at obviously the future as well of Israel in the region, and we've seen obviously a lot of warming up to Netanyahu by President-elect Donald Trump. How do you see the future, Israel's future in the region, or the two-state solution under a Trump administration?
Well, the two-state solution is unfortunately a thing of the past.
Right.
That's what Netanyahu said. That's what the Lieberman also said. So we are now getting into a new era where we are going to see things that are totally different. And the old rights, from our point of view, or claims, if you look at it internationally, I think these are going to be brushed aside and things are going to take a different turn.
But do you think a Trump foreign policy, because the messages that Trump has been giving seem to be very contradictory at times. We're not sure what approach he's going to be taking in terms of his foreign policy. We've seen him on one side saying we will build a wall, which some analysts have interpreted as a more isolationist approach when it comes to foreign policy. And we've seen him also make some extrovert or a little bit more tougher stances, if you will, towards other issues on the international arena, especially when it comes to China, perhaps Iran as well. What kind of foreign policy do you think he's going to be taking?
It's a kind of foreign policy that will probably engender a clash with the outside world. But I think, again, there are institutions that are going to give him advice and sort of curb him a little bit. I think we are going to see again, I assert that we are going to see a different world in comparison to the world that we have seen so far.
Right.
There are going to be clashes, but not with the big powers like China, like the Russian Federation, or some of the Europeans. No, there will be, as usual, they can just run short draft on the small developing countries like Syria, Iraq, or whatever state in the region or in other regions, as it is the case with Mexico. As for the wall, I don't think he will be able to do that because the cost will be tremendous, and I think that the Mexicans will bow to his wishes or to his commands.
Right.
So I guess he will be coming up against a lot of hurdles. Let's see how he is going to be able to jump on that.
What about the nuclear agreement with Iran? He has obviously mentioned that several times and said that he is planning on scrapping that deal altogether. Do you think he'll be able to carry that through?
I doubt it very much.
Right.
I doubt it very much because, again, it's the interests that reign supreme in the end. The Iranians, the Russians, and the Americans have common interests in Iraq, in Syria, and in other parts of the Middle East.
Right.
So that will continue for some time. Maybe later on, if the interests come to an end, that may happen, but I don't think it will happen even if they intend to do it, they won't be able to do it in the short term. It will be in the long term, not even in the medium term.
If we look at the bigger picture, obviously someone as extreme, if you will, as Trump being elected as President of the United States, seeing Britain leaving the European Union, seeing a party like UKIP, for example, which is very far-right, coming or having more of a presence on the British arena, and so on and so forth in Europe as well, these far-right individuals taking part or being more assertive in politics. Does that worry you about the future of foreign policy as a whole when it comes to how the world is going to be dealing with one another?
Again, foreign policy, as I said before, are going to be run on different rules. As I said, the election of Donald Trump is a watershed event. It's like the 11th of September, post and before.
Right.
So that will be a turning point. I don't think we'll be seeing the old world. Let's call it the old world. We are still living in it. The old world has come to an end. We are going to see a new world that probably will going to have some surprises for us.
Okay, Dr. Mustafa Abbas, political analyst, thank you very much for coming in tonight.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for this edition of the program. Once again, I'd like to wish you a very happy New Year from myself and all of us here on the Daily Debate crew. Thank you very much for watching and good evening.